What's up, everyone? Carolee Castillo with Absolute Top Dollar, and today is a exciting day because I have a mentor, which I'm sure a lot of you know her already, the famous Nicole Espinosa. Let me give a round of applause.
Yeah. Hey, girl. Hey.
Actually, this is like a dream, to be honest, okay? Because you probably don't even know this, but I'm sure you do, is that I probably watched you for years, okay? Probably like 4 years into my business, like you were my virtual trainer and you didn't even know it, okay? The day that you opened up your doors and said, I'm having an in-person boot camp, who wants to come? Like you couldn't tell me fast enough. I was like, I'm coming. And I'm so happy I did, because I just want to say for the camera, for everybody out there, Nicole is exactly who you think she is, okay? Thank you for being here, Nicole.
Well, what an amazing intro. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Even the conversations that we're going to have today, I think will add so much value for people that might even been where you were at, yes, where they've been watching and consuming content, but they're like, I'm at this pivotal moment of like, how do I move forward with my career or in real estate? Because it's hard, right? Like there's so many things that you can do and it's very difficult. So it's really important to be in the right environment and have the right type of support for your journey.
What gravitated me to you like many years ago was the fact that you were in short sales and you were cold calling. That's where I come from. I find a lot of myself in you. Like you're very simple and just like basic scripts, like basic things. And that's kind of like, you were like like I said, you were honestly my virtual mentor in part of my growth and just becoming a realtor, you know?
Well, I appreciate that. I think even with what you just said is so powerful, right? So you said it's simple, it's not complicated. And I think a lot of people, they don't do it because they want to complicate it. And the last year that I've known you, I've been mentoring you and that we've had these conversations, like, what have we always said? Like, if it's too complicated, you don't take action, right? The most important systems that you utilize are the ones that you will actually use, right? The ones that you actually implement in your business and that you actually follow through with. And a lot of these things that lead you to this massive success, they're actually really simple concepts. And as human beings, we just were like, what? Like, how can it be this easy, you know? And it's like, no, I mean, it's not hard, right? Nothing we do on a daily basis is hard. We're just consistent. And that's something that I admire, you know, from you, is that what your journey of what you've been building out. And now you've created a team and you have people that you're mentoring and things like that, is that you just took massive action. And I think for everyone that's listening, like that is completely understated. Like that is the one thing that people are lacking all across the board, is that they're just afraid to take action. They want everything to be absolutely perfect. They want it to, you know, just look so pretty. And it's like, no, pick up the phones, like make the calls, and you're going to mess up and it's going to be messy and it's going to be ugly sometimes, but that's how you learn and that's how you gain traction and that's how you start creating that momentum.
I'm curious because I know what it was for me, but for you, like you were just an agent, right? You started off just an agent, right? You were just a regular real estate agent. Where did it start, the wheels start turning to say, hey, I could actually, this could be more than just me making a good income for myself?
So I joke all the time that I never set out to like build this massive team, like to be a CEO. And when I joke around, it's usually when I have to file my taxes and I have to deal with my CPA and my attorneys and stuff, where I'm like, I didn't ask for this. I just want to make money. And a lot of that is because in the beginning, your why, like your motivation is completely different from when you create what you're actually set out to create, right? In the beginning, it's survival, it's paying the bills. And then you start making money and then you realize like, oh, wow, like I'm good at this, but now my motivation is making an impact. And then once you start making that kind of money that you've been working so hard towards, it just comes naturally where you're like, okay, wow, like my vision's different. And you're constantly adapting as things change and as you reach your goals. And so for me, I would just wanted to make money. Like there was no like business plan. There was no anything. Like my background is working with asset managers doing REO. And when I went out on my own, I had no clarity of what I wanted to do, no experience. I was just like, I'm going to pick up the phones. At the time, I was at Keller Williams and they had phone time. Right. And nobody else was in the office. I was the one that signed up for every single phone time. And agents have these misconceptions all the time of like, oh, that doesn't work. Like, don't waste your time. They want to buy the internet leads and they don't want to actually get on the phones. And I had nothing better to do. I was like 24 years old. I'm like, I need to make money. I'm used to a salary and a paycheck. And so that evolved when I started actually creating that income. And then of course, doing short sales and things like that. It wasn't until like 2 or 3 years later that I was realizing like, holy cow, people are looking to me for advice. Like I started teaching classes and I was asked, to really like help teams, acquisition teams, things like that, that this is a lot bigger than me. And it wasn't until 4 or 5 years ago that when I got into the education space where I realized like, this is now my new passion. Like I love being able to help people that are hungry like me and that just needed an opportunity because unfortunately, early on, I had no help. I had to figure out everything myself. And so I see that I have like such a big bleeding heart for people that just want the opportunity because that's all I wanted. And to your point earlier, not only was I facing the objections or like the obstacles of being young, right? So I was a kid, but I had no experience and I was a woman. So I had all of these things that I had to constantly work against with no help, no anything, no backup plan. And so as I was building my business, like I realized like, wow, like there's nothing out there. Like people really identify with me because like they see me on stage and they're like, oh, that could be me. Now it's a possibility instead of, all the men that are out there that are running the big teams. And it is, I mean, everyone I deal with on a daily basis, they're generally men, which is great, whatever. But, where are the women, the strong women that need to speak up and to build their business so that other people can be inspired, knowing that if they do it, I can do it too.
Like in real estate, we could do anything, right? So you could go from renting an apartment all the way to selling an apartment building and then everything in between, So you've kind of built your business off of short sales and really kind of zoned in on that. What has that been like to really like you have opportunities come your way and people are like, oh, you should do that or you should do this. And like, what has been the driving force to just keep you focused down that direction?
So me and you have this conversation a lot, pretty much every week about squirrel, not every opportunity is an opportunity that's actually going to make you money and that's actually going to be a good opportunity. So that is the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs because we have the shiny object syndrome where we constantly see revenue. Like we see an opportunity, we see how to make money and we're good at it. And it's awful because it gets in our way so many times because we don't ever get to go all in on the thing that works. Or what's worse is we create momentum with the thing that works. And now we're like, oh, now we can do this. Now we can do this. And we don't create like stability to where it's running to now we can step away. I had to develop the process that we use today. And I only became an expert because I did it the same thing every single day consistently for the last 14, 15 years. Once I built out that one thing, the short sales, I was able to venture off into investing and pursuing other opportunities. But the key is that I had to build it out, right? I had to build it out to where it was working. It was, a well-oiled machine where I was able to remove myself out of production, where I wasn't doing the everyday tasks, right? I had people in place to do that to where I was just supervising, which is what I'm doing now. And I'm still very much involved, but I don't talk to sellers anymore. I don't deal with the banks anymore or the negotiations. I'm just reviewing with my team and I have everybody in place. But it took me a long time to get there, right? Before I did that, I had to do every single one of the girls' jobs. And as I started scaling, I did not hire someone until I mastered that task. And that's huge. As business owners, I see real estate investors and real estate agents all the time that will hire assistants to cold call. They'll hire assistants to do work that they've never done. And they may have done it, but they weren't successful at it. So they said, okay, I don't want a cold call. I don't want a prospect. So I'm going to hire a VA to do it for me. And then the VA sucks and the VA is not fulfilling. Well, the VA doesn't suck. You don't even know how to manage your VA or to help your VA because you've never done it. You suck.
Yeah.
Right. You don't know how to train. You don't know how to manage. And so that's where the bottleneck ends up being for a lot of business owners, especially with real estate investors and agents that are doing things that we're doing. To answer your question and the long response, I went all in on one thing, built my brand. I was consistent. And then once I was able to step away, then I bought my time back to be able to do other opportunities.
Yeah. And that's like exactly where I currently am, you know? So it's like, I've come to that realization of wanting to build out the team and saying, hey, this can be bigger than just me, you know? So I'm always so thankful for you to be able to lean on somebody that has already been there, has already done it, you know? And going back to when I first watched you, I mean, I would have never in my million years said like, oh, I'm gonna da, 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 da. You know, I was just looking to make money. I was just looking to support myself. It's in watching you and watching your development is actually what ended up giving me the hope and the dream to be able to go out and do it. You know, like I have agents that'll call me and like, I'm so excited. I just got my license, this and that. And they're like, so where do I go? What do I do? And people like, you could specialize in anything. I mean, you could hone in on anything like in Miami, you know, like South Beach and stuff. You could like pick a few buildings and you can just be the master of those buildings. Those buildings have like 500 units. You could have like a 2000. There's so many things, but what happens is nobody focuses on those one thing. And they just end up getting pulled in each direction. And then they never really build that momentum. You're always looking for your next check.
Well, they also are never known for anything. If you've been following me for a while, you know, like I hate the term like, oh, buy, sell, lease, you know, commercial, I do everything. And it's like, awesome. So you're good at nothing, right? Like you can't be the master of everything. There's nothing about you that is special or unique or that tells the public, like, I'm here to solve your problem. There's no like name association where you think, you know, your name and real estate, or you think short sales, or you think something specific. And so, I mean, I'll tell you, it's as powerful as, you know, 2010, 2011, the people that I've met, that it'll come full circle. And I talked to someone, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they were like, you're still doing short sales. Like, holy cow, Nicole. Like, it's so crazy to see how far you've come. I'm like, I know. And because I'm consistent with that message, you know, I don't ever steer away, and you won't see me go on a rant about commercial properties and how you're a leasing specialist. And no, like I was consistent. And I also knew that those opportunities, doing traditional real estate, working with traditional buyers and sellers, like that was going to distract me from what I was trying to build. And now, of course, you know, I have a team and all of that. One thing I did want to say to what you were saying earlier was it's really important when you are getting into this business to figure out if you are a visionary or you're an integrator, because we're big picture thinkers, right? So we get caught up in the vision of what we're trying to create, which is phenomenal because not many people are visionaries, right? Because those are the people that can see past the bullshit. They know what they're working towards, but they also get caught up on the details. This is where they fail, right? And so when the reason why you can get stretched too thin and, you know, feel all over the place is because you want to do so many things because you fall in love with the potential. I mean, like you could literally say this in relationships too, right? You fall in love with the potential. You don't look at the actual mechanics, the systems, the processes, and you have to find that balance. And you have to, in the beginning, you have to be both, right? You have to be the integrator and the visionary. And that was my biggest struggle when I was building my business, is that I hate Excel. I want to be able to create and sell. I want to promise the world and deliver and work on that. I don't want to worry about my transactions and am I compliant and all of that. But in the beginning, I had to, right? Because I was building it out. And then I got to hire out. And now, of course, I have Stephanie, who's my integrator, and she's my operations manager. And I have Cheryl, who's my compliance. And now they are the integrators that I need so that I can do what in my zone of genius and the things that make us a lot of money on, you know, the things that I do for the business. And so, in the beginning, understand that you have to be both. You have to wear both hats. But as you are starting to build your business, you get to hire out those things where you hire people that are your integrators, that you're implementers.
Wait.
And that's the exciting thing. That's the exciting part.
Yes, I can't wait for that moment. I'm dreaming of that moment because it's true. It's
You're
so
getting
crazy.
there. You're getting there.
I'm getting there.
Getting there.
Every week I'm like, I'm breathing through a straw.
I know, but it's like this. Remember, I told you it's a roller coaster, but what did I tell you last week? It's not, this is always going to happen, but we have to make sure that it's not super, super highs and super, super lows.
Right.
Like we've got to stay consistent on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
That's real estate. Like buckle up.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur. Like,
exactly. It is real estate because, you know, real estate, you go through so many hoops, you get to the closing and it doesn't even close, you know? So that's real estate in general. But when you did tell me that last week, it stuck with me so much because I was like, you know what? It's true that yes, I'm going on these ups and downs, but I'm not going anywhere down where I was, you know, like it's these little minute, you know, and so even my down moments, I'm still higher than I've ever been, you know, and it's the climb, you know, it's
when we first met, when we were first talking, you were like, I don't even know where I'm at financially. Right. And you were doing really well in sales, but you were like, I don't know what this looks like. I don't know if I'm making money. And then we went down to the granular, you're like, oh, wow, I have multiple businesses, but this money is actually taking from this company. And like, you know, and those are the things that we have to get down to the heart of so that you don't go like this, right? Mm-hmm. So that we can project 30, 60.
You have financial up and downs, emotional up and downs.
Emotional
There's a lot of up and downs in this business. Okay. Seriously. You got to have thick skin.
We had a seller that we were ready to close, right? We've been working on this for 3 months. It's a really good deal. And the husband passes away last week. So now we're dealing with the wife who never wanted to sell to begin with, right? We get her on board. Are you ready for this? Stephanie tells me this morning, she was like, the worst case scenario happened, Nicole. And I was like, what happened? She's like, well, I got the email saying that he has 5 kids that they haven't talked to in 30 years and she has no idea why. And I'm like, oh my God, that's literally the worst case scenario. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, whenever you deal with someone that passes away, you have to deal with their heirs and do, you know, an heirship affidavit. So it identifies who has ownership in the property. And now we have 5 heirs that the wife has no contact information with. She's never spoken to them before. It's been 30 years. So we can't sell the property until we get them all on board. Well, I always say this, that we get paid a lot of money to solve problems. And so while most agents and most investors, they're leaving the business. This last year, so many people have left the business. They're not doing it anymore. We're thriving, right? And there's a reason why. It's because we're willing to solve problems. We're willing to think differently. So if you're a real estate agent and you're like so intimidated of getting into a market like this, understand that if you're willing to think differently than most real estate agents, if you're willing to figure out solutions instead of focusing on the problem, there's no reason why you can't be successful. And you'll get paid a lot of money in turn for doing that. Okay. Let me ask you, so since you've been working with me for the last year, what is your biggest takeaway? Like, what would you say, how you felt when you came on and now like we're towards the end of this mentorship? Like, what would you say to people that are interested in joining mentorship or the value that you've gotten from it?
Right. Well, completely changed my life starting there. Okay. Minor comment. Okay. I think I knew that I needed you. Actually, I knew that I needed somebody that had gone before me and had already blazed the trail, you know, and I'm a big believer in just buying knowledge, buying information. And you have been like so gracious and patient, you know, and literally, you know, saying the hard things to me and saying the foundational things of what I need, not maybe what I wanted to hear or even the fun stuff. Like, you know, I was like, oh, let's talk about this. You know, I want to do this. I want to do that. And you're like, okay, what's the numbers? You know, how much income? What are the expenses? What are this? What are that? And I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with that. You know, let's talk about this. And you know, you've kept bringing me back to that and just, which I know is ultimately, like you've told me 100 times, is building that strong foundation so that you don't go up, because you built your business a couple times, and through that, you know, you've gone up, you've gone down. And, you know, I think that everything that I've learned from you is now going to give me that foundational that I need to now continue to grow my business. So for me, that was, and just having you like right there to just like, okay, this is what happened this week. This is the situation. You've helped me structure my business. You've helped me how to work with team members, just so many things that I think are go unseen, not even knowing that I even needed it.
I think you're the definition of when the student is ready, like the teacher will appear. Like you are definitely the definition of that, because I do not do one-on-one mentorship anymore. Like I don't. Like
it was not advertised on the website. Okay.
Yes, I don't do one-on-one mentorship. And you were like relentless. You were like, this is happening. I came all the way down here to meet you. And I just saw so much of myself in you. And I was like, you know what, let's do this. And it's just been such an awesome like ride. The most rewarding thing for me to see in your journey is, of course, that you implement and that you take action. Because, you know, my mentor a long time ago, and he's not really my mentor, but I call him that. And he just laughs every time because he's helped me so much and he doesn't even know. And he told me a long time ago, like, if I'm going to spend time, Nicole, and help you, the first time I ever met him, he's like, you have to actually implement it. Otherwise, don't waste my time. And so I've always taken that approach of like, hey, I, you know, could be making money right now. I could be doing so many things. So if I want to invest in someone, like my only stipulation, and I even said this to you, I'm like, are you committed? Because, right. Because at the end of the day, if I'm giving you all the tools and the secrets and you don't take action, like knowledge that's not applied is just wasted, you know?
Right.
And so that I have to commend you. Like you have grown so much in just such a short amount of time. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Yes.
And I'll put your links down. Of course, everybody knows where to find you anyways. Okay.